Daily Gospel Homily, Luke 10:25-37. Good Samaritan, Monday of 27th week, October 9, 2023. It has been said, the main message of Christianity is love. Others are just commentaries. Yes, Christianity is essentially and fundamentally a charity, a love of God and a love of neighbor. In particular, Christianity, according to the letter of St. Paul to the Romans, is about love, compassion, care and help even for the undeserving, the unworthy, undesirables and vulnerable, see Romans 5:8. Our model is Jesus, who loved and died for us when we were God's enemies because of our sins. Christ made peace with all our enemies too, on the cross. Let us bear witness to this peace to all. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, A Testament to Freedom. The greatest commandment, which is, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself, Luke 10:27, would only be best appreciated and fully applied if and when the two fundamental questions related to our Christian life are answered. Who is my neighbor? How can I be neighbor to others? Who is my neighbor? First, neighbor means someone who is near to us geographically. Someone who is near to us in terms of space and time is our neighbor. This kind of neighbors, we usually take them for granted, if not hurt oftentimes, because they are always with us and they are too familiar, common, usual and ordinary to us. Not only that, sometimes they are too irritating for us too. Second, neighbor means someone who is near to us in terms of blood and human relations. Our loved one and friend therefore are our neighbors. This kind of neighbors are the easiest to love and to care for. Third, neighbor means someone who is in need of us. This is what the parable of the Good Samaritan would like to teach us. This parable leaves no doubt about who our neighbor is, anyone, without distinction of race or relationship, who needs our help, nor about how we should love him, by taking pity on him, being compassionate towards his spiritual and corporal needs, and it is not just a matter of having the right feelings towards him. We must do something, we must generously serve him. This parable teaches that one may not evade being a neighbor to anyone who is in need. To pass the neighbor by is like passing by God, who is on the side of the victims of the injustice and violence, who hears the cry of the poor, the needy and the suffering. Christians, who are disciples of Christ, should share his love and compassion, never distancing themselves from others' needs. One way to express love for one's neighbor is perform the works of mercy, which get their name from the fact that they are not duties in justice. There are 14 such works, 7 spiritual and 7 corporal. The spiritual are to convert the sinner, to instruct the ignorant, to counsel the doubtful, to comfort the sorrowful, to bear wrongs patiently, to forgive injuries, to pray for the living and the dead. The corporal works are to feed the hungry, to give drink to the thirsty, to clothe the naked, to shelter the homeless, to visit the sick, to visit the imprisoned, to bury the dead. How can I be neighbor to others? After knowing clearly who our neighbor is, I think the other equally important question to be asked is, how can I be good neighbor to others? By being sensitive and responsive to someone in need, like what the Good Samaritan did. The Gospel story brings about the message that even the ceremonially unclean, socially outcast, and religiously a heretic, see Craddock, 150-151, can be a neighbor to everyone in need. Experience taught us that this is easier said than done. In many instances, some of us react differently with different reasons when confronted with people who are in need. Some may be indifferent and lukewarm, cynical and critical, too busy and preoccupied with their work, duties and for earning a living. Feeling incapacitated and paralyzed by their inadequacy and incapacity. Selective, choosy and discriminating as regards their object of assistance. Today there is an inescapable duty to make ourselves the neighbor of every man, no matter who he is, and if we meet him, to come to his aid in a positive way, whether he is an aged person abandoned by all, a foreign worker despised without reason, a refugee, an illegitimate child wrongly suffering for a sin he did not commit, or a starving human being who awakens our conscience by calling to mind the words of Christ, Backquote, as you did it to one of the least of these my brethren, you did it to me. Gaudium et Spes, 27. To be a good Samaritan, therefore, is to be someone who is filled with compassion upon seeing anyone in need and respond. Go then and do likewise. Luke 10:37. Do this you and will live. Luke 10:28.